Rain hammers against floor-to-ceiling windows. A sleek penthouse office, Seoul skyline glittering below. Amara, drenched and desperate, faces Jihoon across a massive marble desk. He slides a contract toward her. Jihoon, sign this, and the men hunting you die tonight. Amara's hand hovers over the pen, trembling. Amara, what's the catch? Jihoon, you become my wife. 1 year. No questions asked. Amara, that's insane. Jihoon, that's the offer. Your life for mine. Your safety for my image. Leans forward. 12 months of playing pretend. Then you disappear with enough money to start over anywhere in the world. Amara, and if I say no? He gestures to the window. Below, 2 figures emerge from a black car, scanning the streets. Jihoon, then you walk out that door, and see how far you get. Amara looks down at the contract. Her hands are shaking so badly, she can barely hold the pen. Amara, what if one of us catches feelings? Silence. Thunder crashes. Jihoon's expression turns to ice. Jihoon, then you lose everything. Protection. Money. Visa. Freedom. Pause everything. Amara, that's cruel. Jihoon, that's business. Pushes the pen closer. The men downstairs won't wait much longer. Choose. Amara stares at him. This beautiful, terrifying stranger offering salvation with strings attached. Amara, if I sign no love. Ever. Jihoon, not even close. Amara, and if I fall anyway? His jaw clenches. Something flickers in his eyes, pain, maybe fear, then vanishes. Jihoon, then you lose. Amara takes the pen, signs her name in quick, desperate strokes. Amara whispers, when do we start? Jihoon, we already have. Welcome to the marriage, Mrs. Kim. He stands, extending his hand. When she takes it, his grip is ice cold. Jihoon, try not to fall in love with me. I've seen what happens to people who do. Amara, is that a threat? Jihoon, it's a warning. He pulls her toward the window. Below, the 2 men are getting closer to the building entrance. Amara, they're coming. Jihoon, into phone, handle it. Permanently. 30 seconds later, security swarms the men below. Amara watches them get dragged away, her heart pounding. Amara, who are you? Jihoon, your husband. As of 10 seconds ago. Shows her the signed contract. The marriage license was filed the moment you signed. Legally binding in 3-2. His phone pings. 1. Congratulations, Mrs. Kim. You're officially mine. Amara, this is insane. Jihoon, this is survival. Hands her a black card. Your new life starts now. Everything you were before? Gone. You're someone else now. Amara, and who exactly am I supposed to be? Jihoon's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Jihoon, the woman who doesn't love me. Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Afro-Korean Story Vault. If your heart is already racing, smash that like button and subscribe, because this story is about to get absolutely wild. Now let me tell you how we got here. 3 weeks earlier, Amara had been running for her life. The alley in Itaewon was narrow, slick with rain, and she could hear footsteps echoing behind her. Her lungs burned. Her phone was dead. The embassy had turned her away twice already, and the man hunting her had connections everywhere. Back home in Lagos, in London where she'd fled first, and now here in Seoul where she'd thought she'd finally disappeared. She'd witnessed something she shouldn't have. A transaction in her former employer's office. Money moving through accounts that didn't exist. Names she recognized from news reports about political corruption. She'd been the accountant who'd accidentally stumbled onto evidence that could destroy powerful people. And they wanted her silenced. Amara ducked into a doorway, pressing herself against cold metal. The footsteps slowed, then stopped. She held her breath, counting seconds. Her visa was expired. Her savings were almost gone. She had nowhere left to run. That's when the black car pulled up. The rear door opened smoothly, and a man's voice cut through the rain, calm, measured, speaking perfect English with a Korean accent. Get in. Unless you'd prefer to meet the 2 men currently searching for you. Amara looked back down the alley. Shadows moved. She made a split-second decision and dove into the car. The interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne. The man beside her wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than everything she owned. His face was angular, beautiful in a severe way, with dark eyes that assessed her like she was a business problem to be solved. "Seatbelt," Jihoon said simply. The car pulled away just as two men rounded the corner behind them. Amara's hands shook as she buckled herself in. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows you're in trouble." He handed her a tablet displaying her photo, her real name, and information about the corruption case she'd accidentally uncovered. "Someone who's been watching your situation with interest." Her stomach dropped. "Are you with them? Did they send you?" "If I was with them, you'd already be dead." His tone was matter of fact, neither threatening nor comforting. "I'm offering you an alternative." "What kind of alternative?" Jihoon studied her for a long moment. Rain pelted the windows as they drove through Seoul's glittering streets. "I need a wife. You need protection and a legal reason to stay in Korea. I'm proposing a business arrangement." Amara laughed, a sharp, slightly hysterical sound. "You're joking." "I don't joke about business." He pulled out a folder, handed it to her. "Marriage for 1 year. Full legal protection under my name. New identity documents. Security detail. In exchange, you play the role of my wife at necessary social functions. Nothing more." "Why me?" Amara flipped through the folder, seeing contracts, background checks, legal documents. "Why would you possibly want to marry a complete stranger?" "My grandfather controls the company I've built. He's traditional. He believes I need a wife to become CEO, and he's threatening to give my position to my cousin if I don't marry within the month." Jihoon's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I need someone who won't expect a real marriage. Someone who has their own reasons to keep this arrangement purely transactional. And when the year ends, we divorce. You receive a settlement large enough to relocate anywhere in the world and start fresh. I become CEO permanently. Everyone wins." Amara looked at the man beside her. He was attractive in an intimidating way, with the kind of cold confidence that came from always being in control. There was something lonely about him too, though she couldn't quite name what. "What's the catch?" "No falling in love." Jihoon met her eyes directly. "That's the only rule that matters. We maintain emotional distance. This is a contract, not a relationship." She should have said no. Should have demanded he take her to the embassy, or the police, or anywhere but into this bizarre arrangement. But the men hunting her had resources she couldn't fight. Her options had run out 3 countries ago. 1 year, she said quietly. 365 days. And I'm free to leave after? With enough money to disappear permanently. He extended his hand. "Do we have a deal?" Amara shook it. His grip was firm, brief, and entirely businesslike. She wondered if she'd just made the smartest or stupidest decision of her life. Probably both. The wedding happened within a week. No guests, no celebration, just a government office, 2 witnesses from Jihoon's legal team, and signatures on documents Amara barely had time to read. She wore a simple white dress he'd had delivered to the hotel room where he'd installed her. He wore the same expression he wore everywhere. Controlled, distant, unreadable. "Smile," the photographer said. "It's your wedding day." Jihoon's mouth curved slightly, not quite reaching his eyes. Amara managed something closer to genuine, thinking about the fact that she was still alive. That counted as a win. They returned to his penthouse in Gangnam, a sprawling space of marble and glass that felt more like a museum than a home. He showed her to a bedroom on the opposite side of the apartment from his own. "This is your space," Jihoon said. "I won't enter without knocking. The security code is changed weekly. You'll receive updates. There's a driver at your disposal, but I'd prefer if you didn't leave without informing security of your location." "I'm a prisoner? You're protected. There's a difference." He moved to leave, then paused. "We'll need to attend a company dinner this Friday. My assistant will coordinate your wardrobe. Public appearances require." "A performance," Amara finished. "I understand." Something flickered in his expression, too quick to read. "Good. I'll see you Friday." He left, and Amara stood alone in her beautiful prison. wondering what exactly she'd agreed to. The first month was strange. They existed in the same space but barely interacted. Jihoon left for work before dawn and returned after dark. They ate separately, spoke only when necessary. The apartment felt enormous and empty despite housing 2 people. Amara spent her days learning Korean from apps and books, researching Jihoon's company, a tech conglomerate specializing in AI and security systems, and slowly, carefully, beginning to feel safe for the first time in months. No one was hunting her here. The men who'd chased her through 3 countries had no way to penetrate the fortress of Jihoon's wealth and influence. But safety came with isolation. She missed home, missed her family, though calling them would put them at risk. Missed having friends, conversations, any human warmth. The only person she saw regularly was Mrs. Kim, the housekeeper, who spoke broken English and treated Amara with polite suspicion. Their first public appearance changed things slightly. The company dinner was held at a 5-star hotel, hundreds of executives and investors gathered to celebrate quarterly earnings. Amara wore a midnight blue gown that Jihoon's assistant had selected, her hair styled in elegant curls, makeup professionally applied. When she emerged from her room, Jihoon was waiting by the door. He wore a black tuxedo that made him look even more severe and striking. His eyes traveled over her briefly, the first time she'd seen him truly look at her since their wedding. "You look appropriate," he said finally. "Thank you." Amara wasn't sure if that was a compliment or a quality assessment. In the car he briefed her. "Stay close to me. Smile when spoken to. Don't discuss politics or anything personal about our relationship. If asked about our marriage, say we met through mutual friends and connected over shared interests." "What shared interests would those be? We've barely spoken." Jihoon's jaw tightened. "Make something up. Literature. Travel. Whatever sounds believable." The dinner was exhausting. Amara smiled until her face hurt, shook hands with dozens of people whose names she immediately forgot, and played the role of devoted wife while Jihoon's hand rested formally on her lower back. Never quite warm, never quite intimate, just enough to sell the image. An older woman cornered her near the dessert table. "You must tell me how you tamed our Jihoon. He's been unmarriageable for years." "I wouldn't say I tamed him," Amara said carefully. "We simply understood each other." "How romantic. And unexpected. He always swore he'd never marry." The woman leaned closer, conspiratorial. "What changed his mind?" Before Amara could answer, Jihoon appeared at her elbow. "Grandmother, you're interrogating my wife. Someone has to get information from you." The old woman patted his cheek affectionately. "You're too closed off, dear boy. It's nice to see you with someone who makes you smile." Jihoon wasn't smiling. "We should circulate." He guided Amara away, his hand tense against her back. "Your grandmother seems sweet," Amara ventured. "She's calculating. Like everyone in this family." His voice was tight. "Don't let the warmth fool you. She's already assessing whether you're useful to her agenda." "Is anyone in your life not playing an angle?" Jihoon glanced at her sharply. "No." The bluntness stung, though she wasn't sure why. This was a business arrangement. She knew that. But something about the loneliness in his answer resonated with her own isolation. They didn't speak again until they were home. "You did well tonight," Jihoon said as they stood in the penthouse elevator. "Very convincing. It's not hard to pretend to be married to someone attractive and successful." He looked at her then, really looked, and for a moment something unguarded flickered in his expression. Then it was gone, shuttered behind his usual control. "Good night, Amara." "Good night." The weeks began to blur together. More public appearances. More performances of affection that felt increasingly less like performances. Jihoon started coming home earlier, sometimes finding her in the living room reading. He'd pour himself scotch and sit in silence across from her, both of them existing in their separate bubbles. One night he asked, "What are you reading?" Amara looked up, surprised. "Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Half of a Yellow Sunday." "Is it good?" "It's about the Biafran War. About survival and love during impossible circumstances." She closed the book. "Why do you ask?" Jihoon swirled his scotch. "Curious what occupies your time." "I could ask you the same thing." You work 18-hour days. Building an empire requires sacrifice. Or it's easier than building relationships. His eyes snapped to hers sharp. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Amara stood. Forget I said anything. No, tell me. Jihoon set down his glass. You think I'm avoiding something? I think you're lonely. Just like me. The words came out before she could stop them. I think we're both hiding in this arrangement instead of actually living. Silence stretched between them, taut and fragile. This arrangement is what's keeping you alive, Jihoon said finally, his voice low. Don't confuse survival with living. Maybe they should be the same thing. She left him sitting there, heart pounding. She'd crossed the line, gotten too personal, broken the unspoken rule of their carefully maintained distance. But she couldn't stop thinking about the look in his eyes when she'd called him lonely, like she'd seen something he'd tried desperately to hide. The next day, flowers arrived at her door. White orchids in an expensive arrangement. No card, but she knew they were from Jihoon. An apology, perhaps. Or a warning. She wasn't sure which. That weekend, everything shifted. Jihoon had a business event at his family's estate outside Seoul. An annual gathering where the conglomerate's major stakeholders met to discuss strategy. Attendance was mandatory for all family members and their spouses. It'll be overnight, Jihoon informed her 3 days before. We'll need to share a room to maintain appearances. I'll sleep on the couch. Amara's stomach flipped. Sharing space with him felt dangerous. They'd maintained their distance so carefully. One room could shatter that. Is there another option? Not without raising questions. His expression was apologetic. I know it's not ideal. It's fine, she lied. The estate was massive, traditional Korean architecture mixed with modern luxury. Jihoon's family was everywhere. Parents, uncles, aunts, cousins, all watching her with varying degrees of curiosity and suspicion. His mother was particularly cold, greeting Amara with a brittle smile that didn't reach her eyes. So you're the woman who trapped my son into marriage, she said at dinner. Mother. Jihoon's voice held warning. I merely stated facts. He'd resisted every suitable match for years, then suddenly marries a foreigner no one's heard of. Her gaze raked over Amara. One wonders what leverage was used. We fell in love, Amara said evenly, though her hands trembled in her lap. Is that so hard to believe? Yes. The table went silent. Jihoon's jaw clenched, but before he could speak, his grandfather, the patriarch everyone seemed to fear, laughed. I like her, the old man declared. She has spine, more than most of you cowards. He raised his glass toward Amara. Welcome to the family, granddaughter. You'll need that spine to survive us. The tension broke, but Amara felt Jihoon's mother's cold gaze on her for the rest of the night. Later, in their shared room, Jihoon loosened his tie with sharp, angry movements. I apologize for my mother. She's protective of you, Amara finished. I understand. She's cruel. There's a difference. He poured water from the pitcher on the dresser, drank deeply. You handled it well. I've dealt with worse. Amara kicked off her heels, suddenly exhausted. At least your mother isn't trying to kill me. Jihoon turned, something vulnerable in his expression. That's a low bar for human decency. It's the bar I'm working with right now. They stared at each other across the elegant room. The air felt thick, charged with all the things they weren't saying. I'll take the couch, Jihoon said finally. It's not long enough for you. Take the bed. Amara. His voice was firm. Take the bed. She didn't argue. But when she lay down an hour later, listening to him shift uncomfortably on the too small couch, she felt guilty. Felt something else too. A pull toward him she hadn't expected and didn't want. This was supposed to be transactional. It was supposed to be safe. Somewhere between the contract and this moment, something had changed. And that terrified her. In the middle of the night, she woke to Jihoon's voice, low, distressed, speaking rapid Korean. She sat up, saw him thrashing on the couch, clearly trapped in a nightmare. Jihoon, she whispered, approaching carefully. Wake up. His eyes snapped open, unfocused. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist with bruising strength. It's me, Amara said softly. You're safe. It's just a dream. Recognition flooded his features. He released her immediately, breathing hard. I'm sorry. I didn't. He ran a hand through his hair, visibly shaken. I should have warned you. I sometimes have nightmares. About what? Jihoon looked away. Things I'd rather forget. Amara sat on the edge of the couch, keeping distance between them. I have them too. About the men chasing me. About what they'd do if they caught me. Do they still frighten you? Yes. She met his eyes. Do yours still frighten you? Always. The honesty between them felt fragile, precious. Like they were both lowering armor they'd worn for too long. My brother died. Jihoon said suddenly. 5 years ago. Car accident. He was supposed to be CEO, not me. Everything I've built, it was supposed to be his. Amara's chest tightened. I'm sorry. Everyone says that. No one means it. His voice was hollow. They see the company, the success. They don't see that it's built on his grave. Is that why you work so hard? Why you've closed yourself off? Jihoon looked at her, and for the first time since she'd met him, she saw genuine pain in his expression. If I stop moving, I have to feel it. So I don't stop. Amara understood that more than he knew. She'd been running for months before meeting him. Running from danger, yes, but also from grief. From the life she'd lost. From the person she'd been before everything fell apart. Maybe we're both running, she said quietly. Maybe. Jihoon's gaze held hers. What are you running from? Everything I used to be. Everyone I used to know. She wrapped her arms around herself. I had a life before this. Family. Friends. A career I'd built. And it all disappeared because I saw something I shouldn't have. Because someone decided I was inconvenient. You're not inconvenient. The certainty in his voice made her breath catch. No, she agreed softly. Here I'm useful. There's a difference. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Jihoon stood abruptly, putting distance between them. Nothing. Forget it. You should sleep. But Amara could feel it. The shift happening between them despite their best efforts. The walls cracking. The distance shrinking. And she didn't know if she wanted to stop it or lean into it. Both options felt equally dangerous. The next morning, they drove back to Seoul in tense silence. Whatever vulnerability had emerged the night before was carefully packed away. Jihoon worked on his laptop. Amara stared out the window at the passing countryside. But his grandfather's words kept echoing in her head. You'll need that spine to survive us. She was starting to realize surviving the Kim family might be easier than surviving proximity to Jihoon himself. They returned to their careful routine. Days passed. A month became 2. The penthouse felt smaller somehow. Like their careful avoidance of each other was taking up too much space. Then one night, Amara came home from a rare excursion with Mrs. Kim. The housekeeper had finally warmed to her enough to invite her shopping, to find Jihoon in the kitchen cooking. Actually cooking, not ordering in or having a chef prepare something. You cook? She asked, genuinely surprised. Jihoon glanced up from whatever he was doing with vegetables. Why is that shocking? You have people for everything else. My brother taught me. Before he stopped. He said a man should know how to feed himself. Amara leaned against the counter, watching him work. His movements were precise, efficient. What are you making? Kimchi jjigae. Stew. He added ingredients to the pot. I haven't made it in years. Why now? I don't know. But his voice suggested he did know and didn't want to examine it too closely. Can I help? Jihoon hesitated, then nodded. Cut the tofu. Carefully. They worked in companionable silence, their first truly domestic moment together. The kitchen filled with savory smells. Amara found herself relaxing, enjoying the simple act of preparing food beside someone else. You're good at this, Jihoon observed, watching her efficient knife work. My mother taught me, she said. Amara's throat tightened. She hadn't let herself think about her mother in months. She said cooking was love made tangible. Do you miss her? Every day. The knife slipped slightly. Jihoon's hand covered hers, steadying it. Careful. His touch lingered a moment longer than necessary. Warmth spread up Amara's arm. When she looked up, his face was close to hers, close enough that she could see gold flecks in his dark eyes. Jihoon. The timer buzzed. He stepped back quickly, turning to the stove. It's ready, he said, voice carefully neutral. They ate together at the kitchen island, not the formal dining room they usually avoided. The stew was delicious, rich and spicy. Amara told him so. My brother's recipe was better, Jihoon said. Tell me about him. And surprisingly, he did. Spoke about Miho, funny, charismatic, everything Jihoon wasn't. How he'd been groomed for leadership while Jihoon had been the spare, the backup plan. How Miho's death had thrust him into a role he'd never wanted, but had to excel at to honor his brother's memory. Do you think he'd be proud? Amara asked. I think he'd tell me to stop working so hard and actually live. Jihoon smiled, but it was sad. He'd probably like you. What makes you say that? You're honest. Real. He hated pretense. Jihoon met her eyes. He would have appreciated that you call me out when I'm being cold. You're not cold. You're careful. Amara understood the difference now. There's a difference. Is there? You brought me flowers. You cook your brother's recipes. You have nightmares about losing people. She leaned forward slightly. That's not cold. That's someone who feels too much and learned to hide it. Jihoon's expression shuddered. Don't psychoanalyze me. I'm not. I'm just seeing you. Maybe I don't want to be seen. Too late. The tension between them crystallized into something electric. Jihoon stood abruptly, collecting their dishes with sharp movements. This was a mistake, he said. What was this? Letting our guard down. We have an arrangement. I know what we have. Amara stood too frustrated. You remind me every time we start to have an actual human moment. Because human moments lead to complications. Or they lead to being less lonely. I'm not lonely. But his voice cracked slightly on the lie. Amara moved closer, despite every instinct telling her to maintain distance. You're terrified of being lonely. That's why you work constantly. Why you built these walls. But they're not protecting you, Jihoon. They're suffocating you. You don't know anything about me. I know you sleep 4 hours a night. I know you avoid your mother's calls. I know you say my name different when you think I'm not listening, softer, like it matters. She was right in front of him now. I know you're not as detached as you pretend. Stop. Why? Because I'm right. Because we have 8 months left on this contract, and if you keep pushing, one of us is going to do something we regret. The air between them felt combustible. Amara could see his chest rising and falling, could feel her own pulse racing. Maybe regret isn't the worst thing, she whispered. Jihoon's control visibly wavered. His hand came up, almost touching her face, then dropped. Go to your room, Amara. Jihoon. Please. The word sounded torn from him. Please just go. She went. But she could feel his eyes on her all the way down the hall. That night, she lay awake knowing he was doing the same across the apartment. Knowing they'd crossed an invisible line. Knowing there was no going back. The following days were awkward. They avoided each other more carefully than before. Aware that something had shifted and neither knowing how to handle it. Jihoon threw himself into work with renewed intensity. Amara spent longer hours in her room, researching job opportunities for when their arrangement ended, trying to plan a future that suddenly felt uncertain. Then the threat resurfaced. Amara was in the building's gym when Jihoon's head of security found her, his face grim. Mrs. Kim, you need to come with me now. Her blood went cold. What's wrong? Security breach. Someone's been asking questions about you. We need to move you to a secure location. The ride back to the penthouse was silent, tense. When they arrived, Jihoon was already there with his legal team. His expression harder than she'd ever seen it. Pack a bag, he said without preamble. We're leaving Seoul for a few days. What happened? The men looking for you found a lead. Someone in the building staff mentioned seeing an African woman. They've been surveilling the building for 2 days. His jaw clenched. My security team just intercepted them. Amara's legs felt weak. I should leave. I'm putting you at risk. No. The word was steel. We have a contract. I keep you safe. That doesn't change because it's inconvenient. This is more than inconvenient. These people are dangerous. So am I when someone threatens what's mine. The possessiveness in his tone made her breath catch. Jihoon. Pack. Now. We're going to my family's private island. No one can touch you there. The island was off Korea's southern coast, accessible only by helicopter. The house was smaller than the estate but no less luxurious, perched on cliffs overlooking the ocean. Staff had prepared it before their arrival, then left them alone as instructed. Complete isolation. Just the two of them. How long do we have to stay? Amara asked, standing on the deck watching waves crash below. Until my security team confirms the threat is neutralized. Jihoon joined her, keeping careful distance. A week, maybe 2. I'm sorry. I never wanted to drag you into my problems. You didn't drag me. I chose this. He turned to look at her. I chose you. The words hung between them, heavier than he'd probably intended. As a business arrangement, Amara clarified, but her voice wavered. Right. Of course. Jihoon looked away. There are supplies inside. The library is extensive if you need entertainment. I'll be working remotely. Naturally. They fell into an uneasy rhythm over the next few days. The house had multiple bedrooms, so they maintained physical distance. But the isolation forced a different kind of proximity. They ate meals together because cooking for one felt absurd. They sat on the same deck in the evenings because avoiding each other in such a small space was impossible. Slowly the walls came down. Amara told him about her childhood in Lagos, about her father who'd been a teacher and her mother who'd sold fabrics in the market, about her siblings scattered across continents now, living their own lives, about how she'd been so proud of her accounting degree, her corporate job, before it all became a cage. Jihoon told her about the pressure of the family business, about never being enough compared to his brother's ghost, about his mother's coldness and his father's absence, about the loneliness of being surrounded by people who only saw his usefulness, never him. Do you ever wish you'd chosen differently? Amara asked one evening, wine loosening her tongue. That you'd just walked away from all of it? Every day. Jihoon stared at the sunset painting the ocean orange and gold. But walking away would mean Miho died for nothing. So I stay. That's a heavy burden. So is surviving when others want you dead. He looked at her. We're both trapped by our circumstances. Is that what this marriage is? A mutual trap? I thought so. His gaze held hers. I'm not sure anymore. Amara's heart raced. Jihoon, don't what? Don't acknowledge that this stopped feeling like a contract months ago. He moved closer. Don't admit that I think about you constantly. That coming home to you is the only part of my day I look forward to. We agreed. I know what we agreed. His voice roughened. And I'm trying, Amara. I'm trying so damn hard to keep my distance. But you're right there, every day, being brilliant and kind and real, and I. He stopped himself, jaw clenched. You what? Amara whispered. I'm failing. At keeping this professional. At protecting myself. He reached out, his hand hovering near her face but not quite touching. At not falling in love with you. The world seemed to stop. You can't, Amara said, but her voice broke. The contract. Fuck the contract. Then his mouth was on hers and everything shattered. The kiss was desperate, fierce, months of denied attraction pouring out. Amara's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer. Jihoon's fingers tangled in her hair, angling her head to deepen the kiss. They broke apart only to breathe, foreheads pressed together. This is a mistake, Amara gasped. I know. He kissed her again, softer this time. I don't care. The arrangement can be renegotiated. His thumb traced her bottom lip. I'll give you anything, Amara. Just don't ask me to stop feeling this. I can't. But her body betrayed her, leaning into him. What happens when the year ends? What if it doesn't have to end? Jihoon, be realistic. I am. For the first time in 5 years, I'm being completely honest. He cupped her face. I love you. I've loved you since you called me lonely in my own living room. Since you stood up to my mother. Since I watched you cook tofu and talk about your mother with tears in your eyes. I love you, and I know I'm breaking our agreement, but I can't pretend anymore. Tears spilled down Amara's cheeks. This is supposed to be temporary. Then let's make it permanent. You don't mean that. Try me. His intensity was overwhelming. Marry me again. For real this time. No contract, no timeline. Just us. You're not thinking clearly. I've never been clearer. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her trembling mouth. Say yes. Amara wanted to. God, she wanted to so badly it hurt. But fear held her back. Fear of trusting this, of believing it could last. I need time, she whispered. Disappointment flashed across Jihoon's face, but he nodded. Okay. Take all the time you need. He stepped back, and the space between them felt enormous. That night, Amara lay alone in her room, Jihoon's confession echoing in her mind. She'd been careful not to fall, had guarded her heart so vigilantly. But somewhere between their careful coexistence and their forced isolation, she'd failed. She loved him too, and that realization terrified her more than any threat from her past. Morning brought news from Seoul. The men hunting Amara had been arrested, charged with stalking and attempted assault. The threat was over. They could return home. But home felt different now. The helicopter ride back was silent. Jihoon stared out the window. Amara studied her hands. Both of them were acutely aware that everything had changed and neither knew how to navigate it. At the penthouse, Jihoon disappeared into his office. Amara unpacked mechanically, her thoughts spinning. She'd been safe before, emotionally safe, guarded, in control. Now she was exposed, vulnerable, and she had no idea how to protect herself. Days passed in tense limbo. They were polite, distant, careful. All the warmth they'd built on the island froze over. It was worse than before, because now Amara knew what she was denying herself. Knew what they both were. A month later, they had to attend another corporate event. This one celebrating Jihoon being officially named CEO. His grandfather's final requirement had been met. He was married, therefore responsible enough to lead. The contract had served its purpose. Amara wore red this time, armor and silken heels. Jihoon looked devastating in his tuxedo. And when he offered his arm, the touch felt electric despite their careful distance. Congratulations, she said quietly. You got what you wanted. Did I? His eyes searched hers. Before she could answer, his mother appeared, her expression triumphant. Well done, Jihoon. CEO at last. She looked between them, something calculating in her gaze. And now that the appearance of marriage has served its purpose, you can proceed with the divorce discreetly. I've already consulted attorneys about the quietest way to. No, Jihoon said flatly. His mother blinked. Excuse me. There will be no divorce. Don't be ridiculous. The arrangement was temporary, everyone knows. Everyone knows what we allowed them to believe. Jihoon's voice carried an edge Amara had never heard before. But things have changed. His mother's eyes narrowed. You can't possibly mean. I love her. The words rang out clear, certain, in the middle of the crowded ballroom. Conversations around them stuttered to a halt. And I'm not divorcing my wife. Not now, not ever. Amara's breath caught. Around them, hundreds of eyes stared. Jihoon, she whispered. What are you doing? He turned to her, ignoring everyone else. Choosing you. Over the company, over appearances, over everything. He took her hands. I told you on the island, I don't care about the contract anymore. I care about you. But the CEO position means nothing without you in my life. His grip tightened. If my family can't accept that, I'll walk away. Build something new. I don't care, Amara. I just need you to tell me you feel the same. Tears blurred her vision. You'd give up everything? Everything except you. His mother made a disgusted sound. You're throwing away your brother's legacy for a woman you barely know. I know her better than I've ever known anyone. Jihoon didn't look away from Amara. She's brave and brilliant and she sees me. The real me, not who you want me to be or who the company needs. Just me. And I love her for it. Amara's carefully constructed walls crumbled completely. You really mean this? Every word. He brought her hands to his lips. So what do you say? Can we tear up that contract and write something better? She thought about her year of running, about the safety he'd offered when she had nothing, about the man beneath the cold exterior, wounded, lonely, trying so hard to be enough, about falling asleep to the sound of waves, and waking up to find him watching her with wonder in his eyes, about being terrified and choosing love anyway. I love you, she said, and the words felt like freedom. I've been fighting it for months, but I love you. The smile that broke across Jihoon's face was blinding. He pulled her close, kissing her in front of everyone, his family, his colleagues, the entire corporate world that had expected their marriage to be a strategic sham. When they broke apart, his grandfather was chuckling. Well, the old man said, this is certainly more entertaining than quarterly reports. Jihoon's mother looked furious, but his father, quiet, usually absent, stepped forward. Your brother would have approved, he said softly to Jihoon. He always wanted you to be happy, to live, not just survive. Something in Jihoon's expression cracked. Dad, keep her. Keep the life you're building. His father's hand rested briefly on his shoulder. And stop working yourself to death trying to be Miho. Be yourself. That's enough. Amara watched Jihoon process this. The permission he'd been seeking for 5 years, finally granted. He nodded, not trusting his voice. They left the gala early, ignoring the whispers and stares. In the car, Jihoon pulled Amara close. No more separate rooms, he said. No more emotional distance, she agreed. No more contract. Just us. Just us, he echoed, and kissed her like they had all the time in the world. Back at the penthouse, they stood in the living room where they'd spent so many evenings carefully avoiding each other. Jihoon found the marriage contract in his office, brought it to the fireplace. Together? He asked, holding out a lighter. Amara took it, and they burned the document together, watching their arrangement turn to ash. What now? She asked. Now we figure it out as we go. Jihoon pulled her against his chest. No rules except honesty. No timeline except forever. No protection except what we give each other. That sounds terrifying. Terrifying and perfect. She tilted her head up to kiss him. I can work with that. The months that followed weren't easy. Jihoon's mother refused to speak to them. Some board members questioned his judgment. The press had a field day with the contract marriage turned love story. But they faced it together. Jihoon cut his work hours, came home to actually live in the space they shared. Amara enrolled in university to finish her degree, started consulting for nonprofits helping displaced people. They fought sometimes, about his tendency to withdraw when stressed, about her fear of being too dependent. But they fought fairly and always came back to each other. 6 months after the gala, Amara woke to find Jihoon watching her sleep. Creepy, she mumbled. Beautiful, he corrected, brushing hair from her face. What time is it? Early. He kissed her forehead. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about something. What? When we first met, you asked what would happen if you fell in love. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I said you'd lose. I was wrong. You were protecting yourself. I was afraid. He propped himself up on one elbow. But you know what I realized? Falling in love with you isn't losing. It's winning everything I didn't know I needed. Amara's eyes filled with tears. You're very romantic when you're sleep-deprived. I'm romantic when I'm with you. He grew more serious. Marry me again. We're already married. Marry me like we should have the first time. With your family present. With my family, the ones who matter, celebrating. With vows we write ourselves instead of lawyers. Jihoon. I want to choose you in front of everyone who matters. I want you to choose me the same way. His voice roughened. I want a wedding that's about love, not survival. Joy bloomed in her chest, fierce and bright. Yes. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you again. As many times as you want. He kissed her deeply, thoroughly, until they were both breathless and laughing. I love you, he said against her mouth. I love you too. Even though I made you sign a contract that said we couldn't. Especially because you tried and failed so spectacularly. Jihoon laughed, a real, full laugh that she'd rarely heard in their early months together. I did fail, didn't I? Completely. She wrapped her arms around his neck. Best failure of your life? Without question. The wedding happened 3 months later. Small and intimate, on the island where they'd first admitted their feelings. Amara's family flew in from Nigeria, her parents weeping with joy, her siblings teasing her mercilessly about falling for a CEO. Jihoon's father attended, and his grandfather, and surprisingly his mother, who managed a stiff but genuine congratulations. "Don't mess this up," she told Jihoon before the ceremony. "I won't. And you," she turned to Amara. "Take care of him. He's more fragile than he looks." "I know," Amara said softly. "I will." Standing beneath an arch of white flowers, Amara wore a dress she'd chosen herself, cream silk that caught the ocean breeze. Jihoon's hand trembled slightly as he took hers. "I tried so hard not to love you," he said during his vows. "I built walls, made rules, convinced myself that distance would keep me safe. But you demolished every defense without even trying. You saw me, the broken, lonely parts one tried to hide, and you didn't run. You stayed. You pushed back. You made me want to be someone who deserved your love." His voice cracked. "I promised to choose you every day, to come home early, to share my fears instead of burying them in work, to build a life with you that's about living, not just surviving. I promised to love you fiercely, honestly, and without reservation for as long as I breathe." Amara was crying openly now. "I ran for so long before I met you. From danger, from pain, from my own heart. You offered me protection, and I took it because I had no other choice. But you gave me so much more than safety. You gave me a home. Not just a place to live, but a person to come home to." She squeezed his hands. "I promise to see you always. Not the CEO, not the family name, just you. I promise to push back when you're being stubborn, to hold you when the nightmares come, to remind you that you're enough exactly as you are. I promise to choose love over fear, every single day. And I promise that wherever we go from here, we go together." When they kissed, the small crowd erupted in cheers. Jihoon pulled back just enough to whisper, "No contract this time." "Just love," Amara agreed. "Just love," he repeated, and kissed her again. The reception was joyful chaos. Amara's father danced with Jihoon's grandfather. Her siblings taught his cousins Nigerian songs. For the first time since Miho's death, Jihoon's house felt alive with genuine happiness. Late in the evening, Jihoon and Amara slipped away to the cliffs overlooking the ocean. The same spot where he'd first confessed his feelings. "Thank you," Jihoon said quietly. "For what?" "For being stubborn enough to see past my walls. For loving me when I didn't know how to love myself." He pulled her close. "For turning a contract into a life." Amara leaned into him, breathing in salt air and contentment. "Thank you for offering me protection when I needed it most. For keeping me safe until I could save myself. For showing me that trust isn't weakness. We saved each other." "We did, didn't we?" They stood there as the sun set, painting the sky in golds and purples. Two people who'd started as strangers bound by necessity, who'd become partners, lovers, and finally, truly married. A year ago, Amara had signed a contract that promised protection in exchange for pretense. She'd agreed to play a role, to maintain emotional distance, to leave after 12 months with money and nothing else. But love didn't negotiate. It didn't follow terms and conditions. It simply existed, stubborn and relentless, until two people stopped fighting it and let themselves fall. "What are you thinking?" Jihoon asked, reading the expression on her face. "That I married you for protection," Amara said. "But I stayed for love. Best contract I ever broke." She laughed. "Best failure of my life." "Ours," he corrected, tilting her chin up for a kiss. "Best failure of our lives." And there, on the edge of the world with ocean spray and starlight surrounding them, they rewrote their ending. Not with legal terms or timelines, but with whispered promises and intertwined hands. Not with emotional distance, but with hearts wide open. Not as strangers playing roles, but as two souls who'd found home in each other. The contract had given them a beginning. Love gave them everything else. Hello lovelies, welcome to Afro-Korean Story Vault, the hub of great stories. So, Can love survive a contract? Hit that like button if you believe it can. And drop a comment telling me, would you sign a marriage contract if it meant protection, even knowing you might fall in love? Subscribe for more emotional stories that'll keep you hooked from beginning to end. I'll see you in the next one.